So what if I told you that this company in Toronto spent just $12,257 on Google Ads and generated $94,952 in estimates in just 60 days? Crazy part is that this was their first time trying to break into the Toronto competitive market. Today, I'm going to break down the exact strategy that we used step by step so you can steal it for your own contracting business. Let me show you what we're working with. So this is the company Toronto Deck and Rail. They install aluminum railings for backyard decks and front steps in the greater Toronto area. And then this is their small office that they have in Toronto. So let me just walk you through some of the problems that they faced with their existing Google ad campaign and how we fixed it. So the first thing was they had a pretty confusing landing page that was kind of hard to read. There was a lot of things going on and there weren't enough clear call to actions. So for example, they would lead traffic to their homepage, but the homepage would talk about so many different types of railings and decks, so it wasn't super clear. So we replaced it with this landing page that looked much more clean. We helped them rebrand. And if you scroll down on this page, you'll see just the different types of railings that they offer. And you can click in and see the exact photos of that type of project. So it's much clearer and much easier for a user to go and find what they're looking for. Within each page, you'll also see that we added a gallery of their projects. So this can help people visualize the work and what their potential deck or front step could look like. The second thing that we did is we fixed their campaign structure. So this is where most contractors actually mess up. So the first step is we had to create different ad groups for different services that they're trying to target. So for example, we had an ad group for deck railings, because usually the ticket and the type of person looking for a deck railing is different than the person looking for a front step. And we want to make sure that we get as many deck railings as possible. So we separated these because usually someone searching for deck railings has a different intent than someone searching for front step railings. So that means we were also able to show them different copy and different landing pages depending on what they're looking for. We also use geo-targeting based on areas where they sold to in the past. So they had data of who their biggest clients were and where they were located. And then we were able to use that into our Google ad campaign to make sure that we're not wasting money showing ads to people that are probably not qualified or in the areas that they're really looking for. This alone has probably saved them thousands of dollars in otherwise wasted ad spend. The next thing that we did is we ran Performance Max ads alongside the traditional search ads. So Performance Max ads are ads that run on Google search, but they also run on the other networks. So that means Google Maps, YouTube, and even other websites running Google ads. So usually the targeting on a Performance Max is much broader. However, usually the cost per lead is much cheaper because it's reaching way more people that people are usually not advertising in. And when we made the Performance Max campaign, Google asked for a lot of photos and videos, and we made sure we did it properly. We added in the best photos of the client's portfolio. And I actually met with the owner in Ottawa, and we actually filmed some ads that we included in the Performance Max campaign. And these would have been shown as YouTube ads. So we can play a clip of what the sample ad looked like. So as you can see, it's a very organic looking social media ad. So this was designed to capture their attention and funnel them into their landing page to actually request a quote. It's very, very important that if you want to run this type of Performance Max campaign, that you have all the necessary assets to make it actually perform well. And the next thing, and probably one of the most important stuff, is we actually implemented the full funnel tracking of the Google ad campaign that we started. So what this means is that any person who submitted a contact form, it would integrate into his Salesforce, which he was using as his CRM. So that means that any lead that came into his CRM, we were able to know whether it came from Google Ads or from Google Organic. And that means that month to month, we were able to see the exact revenue that we generated from our leads. So this is a sample of some of the form submissions that we got. You see here, it labeled them as Google Ads because our system is able to know whether they came from Google Ads or from Google Organic. And this would show up in the CRM so we could see month to month if they actually closed or not. So now the client had complete transparency. He saw directly in his CRM what leads that we brought in from our Google Ads campaign. So if you're watching this and you're thinking this is way too much for you to implement, we actually have a 60-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not happy with us running your Google Ads for any reason, we can refund you our management fee. You can book a call with us below. We'll run your whole landing page, your Google Ad setup, and everything. And we're going to track everything so we actually know what leads we are bringing to you. So after the setup, what actually made the campaign good was the ongoing optimization. So every week we would go through all the search terms and clean that up. So if there's any person who searched something like cheap deck railings, we would add that as a negative keyword because usually that's not the type of person that would spend from $5,000 to $10,000 on a deck railing. So we would go through the Performance Max campaign every month and update the images that were not generating any impressions and replace them with higher performing ones or ones that we thought would do better. And also we had a call every week with this client to basically go through every lead that we generated, and then he would give us feedback of whether it was a good lead or a bad lead. And based on that information, we would adjust the landing page and the Google Ads account accordingly. And then these are the results, obviously. So we spent $12,700 and we were able to see in its CRM how much we generated in estimates, and it was $94,942. Just to conclude, most contractors are running Google Ads without a clear strategy or proper tracking, and then they're wondering why it doesn't work. So the strategy I showed you right now works because it addresses the real problems when running a Google ad campaign. You need to target the right people. So these are qualified people that are actually searching for your services. You need to actually show it in the right areas where you can go to and likely has those qualified customers. You need to ensure that the messaging is correct on the ad and on the landing page, and you have some offer to incentivize people to actually contact you. And you need to track everything. So you need to know every single phone call that came in. You need to know every single form that came in, what was in the form, and whether it was a qualified lead or not. So if you want to see how we would implement this for your business, you can check out other videos that we have on our channel. Our goal is to get your home service business to multi-million dollars in revenue per year. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.